I had some friends out who called me to say they appreciate what is happening in Bayelsa State through this program. So I want to commend all of you, of course, my brother and friend, then those who are behind the scene doing the needful to make our system seen and known outside the world. I want to say thank you. Then for Bayelsans, I want to say thank you for your confidence, your trust, and your belief in the restoration government. Indeed, without you, there will be no restoration government. So thank you for being part of this program. I am here to chronicle the little we have achieved in the education sector. To us, we say little, but to the world, it's more than little. To the world, we have done so much within this period, and Bayelsa will never remain the same again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. For our online viewers, I urge you to please send your messages and comments to our comment box or SMS on 0706 840 5809 or 07011 93 880 or 090 8348 5732 and finally 0805 608550. Commissioner, sir.
Yes.
From the introduction, it is clear that you have been in this region, you have been in governance for quite a while now. You understand the rudiments of governance, and now you are the Commissioner for Education. Please, sir, could you give us a brief account of the state of education in Bayelsa before the Governor Dickson-led Restoration Administration assumed office?
Well, that to me is one of the best questions that you asked, and I'm happy you starting with that. I said one of the best because I've been the ardent follower of this program, and I know the questions you ask other commissioners and other top government functionaries when they come. Now, in my introduction, which I want to believe that you've given me one very big coat to wear, and I want to downplay it. First, I came into government in 2003, not 2013. In 2003, I was the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on State Capital Development. Of course, it's on record that the CCDA that you see there was my own handwork. I had to go around the country, and I felt that for a state like Bayelsa State, we should have a city and have administrative structure on how to build the city. And that is what I achieved, serving then as the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on State Capital Development. And when former President Goodluck Jonathan became the governor, indeed, the law was passed and that agency was created.
Okay.
Now, moving forward, I was also Chairman Arts Committee on Appropriation. You talked about it as the Chairman Arts Committee, the Vice Chairman Arts Committee on Appropriation. I was. I say this because that gives me the privilege to say a lot that I will say today, and to talk about the state of education that we were before the coming of the restoration government. And I also want to let Bayelsans know that before the governor became governor, he knew the problem.
Okay.
And that is why that very first day, during his inaugural speech, he declared the state of emergency. That is to tell that before he became governor, he's aware of the problem, and he also has the direction on how to solve the problem. And that declaration crystallized what we are seeing today as the new Bayelsa in education and the feat we have achieved. Before the coming of this government, Bayelsa State educationally is something you cannot even talk about. We are ashamed of ourselves.
Okay.
We were, that is the word. We are ashamed of ourselves. Where you cannot even find good classrooms where our students sit to learn. You cannot also appreciate the teaching condition that our teachers and administrators within the education sector find themselves.
Okay.
And that is why when the governor came, having identified those problems, he decided that we are going to do things differently and think out of the box.
Okay.
Because if you want to do something differently, you must do something that had not been done before. You must do something that the world will know that, yes, you have a focus and you know where you're going. So when you put everything together, looking at the state, the decay, especially in infrastructure,
okay,
especially in infrastructure, the decay in infrastructure, you will not believe that it's Bayelsa State, an oil producing state. I am not here to condemn the other government, but I want to say they too may have tried their best to try to correct some of the things they made. A state that was created, when you look at the background of Bayelsa State, when Bayelsa State was created, and you can talk about the fact that it had just one lane, single lane road from Imbiama Junction down to Yenegua. You can stand in the middle of that road and count the number of houses that you have. Today we're talking about Yenegua, and you can walk from one building to another. No, we had a cluster of communities.
Okay.
And our civil servants came into this state where some of them slept in their cars. Some of them slept in halls. You see, there was a Bayelsa where you cannot find a modern toilet built. In the morning, very early in the morning, you see people walk to any nearby bush around them and do that thing and come. Because we are, I don't want to use some words here. So that is the kind of state we found ourselves. So I am saying this because I don't want to say others did not do what was expected of them. But how was the state of education before this government? It was nothing to write home about.
Okay.
And that is why different governments try to do different things to see that they will change it. But what have we come to do differently is a question. What have we achieved is also the question. So that state was something we cannot all talk about. We are ashamed of it. Today, we are proud that working from our beginning, the genesis of our state, to where we are here, appreciating the efforts of different governments that we have had, to where we are here, I will say Bayelsa has indeed moved forward.
Okay, one of the quotes of Governor Henry Seriake Dickson, and I quote, "Every other kind of development may be transient, but you can never go wrong investing in the human mind, and that is the foundation we are laying." Commissioner, sir, looking at his quotes and unquotes, how many schools have been built or renovated in this administration?
Well, let me comment through this way. We have a different scenario when you talk about building schools and making schools look like they are schools. In Bayelsa, we met a state where every community wants to have a school, even if it cannot be sustained. So it's not a matter of having the school or establishing the school, but what structures do we have on ground to run the schools? Okay. Those were the issues. Now, when the restoration government came and saw that we don't have schools that we can refer to as schools in a modern society that we have, the government decided to go into massive renovation, rehabilitation, and construction of existing primary and secondary schools. Okay. It's on record that within the period, 600 schools were affected. 600 schools were affected.
In Bayelsa State?
In Bayelsa State. 600. I bet you there's no community you go to today in Bayelsa that you will not see the restoration footprint written in the education sector. No community. Now, you ask me, are we there? We're not there. Have we gotten it all right? No, we've not. Are we working towards it? Yes, we are working towards it. Now, the governor also looked at it as a system. How do we encourage, motivate her teaching staff?
Okay.
From the principal down to the least teacher we have in our classrooms. We started a project of building, not renovating, for the first time in the history of Bayelsa State, building headmasters' quarters in almost all the schools that you have in Bayelsa State. At the last count, we have more than 400 headmasters' quarters that we have built.
Okay.
Then you move forward again. We went and built principal's quarters. We built that of principal, we built that of vice principal, and in Bayelsa State we have introduced a system where we have not just one vice principal. We have that of academics, we have that of welfare, we have that of administration. Okay. So in all that, we made provision for that, so that her schools, those who are the administrators, those who run the system, will have the comfort of running the system. Because we discovered that when teachers or principals or headmasters are posted from one location to the other, when they are posted to the riverine areas, most of them refuse to go.
Because of the...
So how do we create the incentives? How do we bring the environment and make it conducive for them? And that is why we decided to go into the building of those headmasters' quarters and principals' quarters. Not stopping at that.
Okay.
We also did renovation of some other buildings that we think are not conducive for learning, and we restructure them so that they can serve as quarters for teachers too. But that I don't want to talk much about, because the number we have done cannot be compared to that which we have done in the headmasters' quarters and that of the secondary. But it's a gradual process. So the entire revolution in education started from the grassroots. It started from the primary sector and moved from the primary sector to the secondary sector, and that is how it crystallized. And we went to the point where today we have built new schools.
Okay.
The first time we are having the sports academy, a brand new school built by the Bayelsa state government. I'm happy to tell you that we have our boarding students there, free boarding students there. Tomorrow again, we are going to have another set of entrance exam that will also take some new students into that school.
That's nice.
You will want to ask me about the higher NA. I don't want to talk about the higher NA, because the story of the higher NA is a story that the world has also appreciated. Today, because of the policies in education that we have, the last concluded MCE conference, summit in Abuja, most of our projects, the innovations we have brought into education, has been adopted as national policies in terms of funding of education.
That's nice.
2 of them have been adopted as national. They are saying, go and copy from Bayelsa State. So when you look at it, we have introduced and built so many new things in the education sector. But like I said, schools are, every community wants a school. But the name is different from, because as a ministry they apply to us, we approve the application, because you see, you do not, because of our terrain, you don't expect a child to take a boat, to travel from one community to another community, to go to school and come back. Security risk and every other thing put together. Not in our today's world where you know what is happening. You see, so we sustain that policy of having schools in every community, but not just having it by name, but building infrastructure that will make it a true school. And that is what we are doing, and that is where we are today.
Our viewers, you can also share the Bayelsa New Media page, so your friends and colleagues can have the same opportunity to comment and ask their questions. Honorable Commissioner, sir,
yes.
In a quote precisely on the 10th of July 2012, I quote by Governor Seriake, I have always said that the most fundamental challenge facing our people is the challenge of human capacity development. That was why this administration declared a state of emergency in the educational sector. That was why we announced free and compulsory education for our people. This question will come in threefold. One, sir, is education really free in Bayelsa State? 2, at what level? Is it in the primary schools, the secondary school, or the tertiary institutions? This is the third question. How has the government succeeded in maintaining all these schools despite the recession in the most parts of 2016?
Well, viewers, I want to talk about this with all pride as a Bayelsan, as a member of the restoration government. Education is free in Bayelsa State. Education in itself is free in Bayelsa State, and that is what we operate in, free education in Bayelsa State. But let me start. Free education in our primary schools, free education in our secondary schools.
Okay.
To the point that even we pay WAEC and NECO for our students. Now people will say, are you still paying that? No. As a government, as you move forward at every point in time, you must ensure what you are doing and look at the areas where you have shortfalls. Okay. We decided as a state not to pay WAEC for our final year students in the secondary school, because we discovered the abuse in the system.
Okay.
I'm here to talk about it because I'm the commissioner. Secondly, I was House Committee Chairman on Education for 4 years in the Assembly.
Yes.
Okay? So I know what I'm saying. When you have a scenario where in every school you have maybe about 150 students who are true students of that school, and because government is paying, when the bills are sent in, you have about 500, you have about 400. No government that is meaningful in what they're doing, no government that is objective, no government that has a plan, will sit back and encourage a system like that.
Okay.
So that went on for a period. And the government, through different persons, through different committees, investigated it and said, no, what do we do to curtail this?
Okay.
Because they try to stop it, whatever they do. And at the end of the day, you discover that it was embedded in the system.
Yeah.
A lot of persons were involved in the system.
Yeah.
And that is why the government took that decision. And we decided to do things differently. Let us rather use the funds to provide the infrastructure. And it's just about 2 years now that we did not do that. For a government that has been for 6 years plus. So that will tell you that we took time to understudy what we are doing. So education in itself is free in Bayelsa State. We don't just have free education. We provide free books.
Okay.
My brother, you say books. What kind of books? We provide textbooks for our students. We also provide notebooks for our students. Branded restoration notebooks for our students. So in Bayelsa State, students get free notebooks. They get free textbooks given to them. As I speak, in September, we are going to give out another 50,000 plus books that we already have for this academic session. In September, we're going to do that. We also give them free uniform. That's why you see in Bayelsa State, all our primary schools have the same uniform. All our public secondary schools also have the same school uniform. Who does that? Government provides those uniforms for them. Let me tell you one thing that will shock you, my brother. This government started by also providing school bags for our students. School bags for our students. My brother, the restoration government has invested so much in this free education system that we're having. And you ask me, do we have free education in our tertiary system? Yes, we have. Bayelsans don't pay tuition fees.
Okay.
See, there's a difference between school fees and there's a difference between tuition fee. Yeah. When you look at the listing, you will see tuition fee free for all Bayelsa students.
Okay.
But they pay every other fee. Because, see, we are talking about tertiary. Let me tell you this. If our educational system in the tertiary sector was improved, there will be value for money. People must pay to earn education. At that point, but the government has come with another policy. Just like we are providing infrastructure for our tertiary institutions, we are doing everything to encourage them. We also want to remove the burden, that burden from parents and Bayelsans who have their children in our tertiary institutions. And what are we doing? We have just introduced the Higher Education Loan Board.
Okay.
That board's responsibility is clear. Every child that is of Bayelsa origin that has gotten admission to any tertiary institution within this country, in quote. Okay. Because if your parents want to send you abroad, they should have the capacity to do that. Because as a government, we have a scholarship program that we've been running, sending students, the best of students that we have, after a very open, free and fair competition, they are sent to America, to UK, to other places. Of course, you are aware of the Lincoln story. I don't need to talk about that. You understand? Yeah. That young man, Peraware, wouldn't have been the valedictorian of the year if he was not given the privilege to go to school there by the Bayelsa State government. But he was given the privilege. And you heard him when he came, expressing his joy and appreciation. So we have free education in our tertiary system, but it's tied to a component which is called the tuition fee. That is a component that will take. Every other thing is what a student is expected to do or fees to pay as a tertiary institution student, an undergraduate. So those are the things we are doing. So when you ask me whether education is free in Bayelsa State, education remains free in Bayelsa State since the coming of the restoration government. Are we going to stop it? No, we want to drive it through. Okay. We are going to drive it through so that the next government will face the challenge. And I know Bayelsans will resist it if you want to change it. So that is the appreciation that I have, that we are moving forward.
During Governor Dickson's, one of his occasions where he was given scholarship to recipients of a John National Academy and other scholarship, he made mention, he said, as we strive hard to secure your future and equip you for the challenges ahead, please do not let your state down and do not let your families down. And do not let your God, whom gave you this infinite wisdom, who gave us this infinite wisdom, created this opportunity, and many more will come your way. Do you think we are recording success in our educational sector?
Well, sorry to say it, and I want to say it again. And this is not a way of indicting or condemning previous administrations. I have been part of the system, but there are times in your life as a person you must extract yourself and tell yourself what you've gotten right and what you've gotten wrong. What have I done? Self-appraisal is very important. That is the first discipline as a person. You must do self-appraisal. Sometimes you'll be doing something and you think you're doing the right thing. And you'll be going, and sometimes you see, we have two sets of persons in society. Those that will praise you for whatever you do. Those that will condemn you for whatever you do. So you strike a balance. So self-appraisal is a means of striking a balance to know whether you're doing something the right way or you're headed somewhere. Now, before the coming of the restoration government, Bayelsa State used to be 30-something, 28, 20-something in NECO, in WAEC, because I'm using that because those are the standards we use in measuring.
We are that down?
We were that bad, not down. When you say down, it means you are competing within the first 10 or you are below the 10. No, we are that bad, not down. When you talk about out of 36 states, you are coming up within 30 something or 28 or thereabout 27. Is that down? That is bad.
Okay.
We were that bad. But the good news is that from 2012, you know, every building block is something you put. Every building block. It's not rocket science. You put one, you use the mortar, you set it. You see, there's a limit you can even go. For that one, you put to settle before you put the next one, so that everything you've done will not collapse. Yeah. So we started the building blocks in changing that concept. And I must tell you, we have changed the concept. Yeah. Today, I'm proud to announce that from 2014, when we started counting our blessings and numbering them one by one, from that point, we started doing that. And I must tell you, my brother, you won't believe this. The results we attained, we've been between the first 7th from that point till today. We have not gone below 7th position from that point till today. I say this because these are measures that we don't measure ourselves. These are national standards. Yes. The statistics are national. So there's not something that, okay, we are saying it because we are politicians. No. The last one we were 5th. This one we were 7th. But 7th with a difference. Okay. 7th with a difference in the sense that if you look at the chart of states, those that maintain that hierarchy do not maintain it again. Some of them are now below us because we have done, the competition is high. But on our own part, we have consolidated. Okay. Consolidated in the sense that we don't look at placement, but we look at the quantum of students that make it. The increase in population of students that write WAEC, the increase in population of students that write NECO determines the success that you have in it. Yeah. So if last year or year before last, we have 20-something thousand, and this year we have 38,000 students writing the same exam, or more, about 50,000 students writing the same exam, and you could achieve that mark of maintaining the same standard. And also, you did not record any school that is being disciplined for exam malpractice. See, some of the places where you hear this, we have come to say in Bayelsa State, every child must earn is WAEC, every child must earn is NECO. There are no special centers in Bayelsa State. There are no miracle centers. If you go to some states, you see they talk about miracle centers. Of course, you know Nigerians appreciate miracles a lot. So people go for miracles. Parents go for miracles for their students. But we have said no, for our children there's no miracle. Whatever you carry as a WAEC result is something that you could defend. It's something that you can defend. It's something that you can say, this is my own. Own it. And let me tell you this. WAEC result is the only thing you cannot share with any other person. As a beginner. Your NECO result, even your brother, your father, your mother cannot take it and say it's their own. Okay? Yeah. So those are the things we have done. So we have moved from that very sorry state, that very bad state. We have come and we are part of the committee of states, the champions of our time. Yeah. because we know as a government we will no longer fall below where we are. But our target, and I promise Bayelsans, by next year, if we don't come out first, third, know that we have slacked in some other areas, because that is what we are working towards. But we have laid the foundation, and the foundation is building, and that is the beauty of it. So that statement that the governor made, we have lived beyond that statement. Because as a politician, they say you make promises, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't want to, I don't want to go into politics. We have seen in politics where people will come and promise us the world, they are going to make this happen, they are going to create human beings, Nigeria will be this, this will be that. Now we have gone about 100 times below where we were before. But in our case, every promise that the governor has made in the education sector, and also in every sector in the state, we have surpassed the expectation of our people, and they will surpass our own expectation. You give yourself a standard and you beat your standard. When you look at Usain Bolt, sometimes he will tell you, I have made the best timing in terms of 100 meters. What is his dream? Is to beat his own record. So as a people, we are beating our own record. But are we there? No, we're not there. Are we working towards being there? We are doing everything humanly possible to see that we're there. And is God on our side? Good, God is on our side. Do we have the human resources to do that? Of course. We have the human resources to do that. And that is why we're also investing massively in the capacity building of our teachers in the system. Everything you hear us that we have achieved, there are persons who are responsible in doing that. We are, as administrators, those who practically go do the teaching and at running of the schools. Then of course the students. So most times when I talk to people, I said it's a symbiotic or a relationship where everybody, it's a collaboration where everybody is part of it, and everybody will play a role so that we can achieve it. So I want to use this medium to commend all our teachers who are actually doing the work, and also our students for making themselves available. You can have students, you can have the best of teachers, you can teach them from now till tomorrow. If they are not in the same spirit, they are not in the same mind with you, they are not in the same reasoning with you, you won't achieve anything. And that is why I want to appreciate them and commend them for what they are doing.
Hello viewers, I assured you this session will be explosive, revealing and enlightening, and you have seen the Commissioner for Education. It is. You can also share this page Bayelsa New Media with your friends as they comment to or ask their question. It's an opportunity for them to know Bayelsa better and more. Thank you very much. Honorable Commissioner, sir, this question is, please, can you talk about some of the successes, or is it, talking about the private schools here in Bayelsa State, there seems to be one after every block. What is the state late?
Well, first let me say this for parents who are out there. Remember, before now we said it, that before September, before the new academic session will start, we are going to publish names of schools that were barred from operating in Bayelsa State. Schools that were withdrawn their certificates, schools that applied that we did not give them certificates, so our corporation that are operating. That we have done. And in one of my address, I said we have up to about 200 and something schools that we want to take out of our system. We decided not to do it then because most of our parents, most of our people have already paid fees. If you close them, where will you take all those children to? And that is why we are saying in the next few weeks, I'm going to publish it. I'll give it to the social media team, the new media team. We are going to publish it. Every Bayelsa should know, because we will not allow them to write our common exams. Like common entrance exam, they won't write. They are not going to write our junior WAEC. Those are state administered exams. We are not going to give them. Why? Because we have changed the process. Today, just like JAMB is doing, that is one of the new innovations that's abroad. You can stay in your house. All you need is to get the scratch card. You scratch your card, you open it. I don't know whether one of them is around. I would have showed it to you people. You open it and you see your number, you log it into our website, you open it, your child's result is there. You don't need us to carry paper and go to one school and this is the result. See wherever you are, all you need is the scratch card. But for now, because it's something we are starting, it's free. We are investing in education. Something that JAMB and others are doing. You can stay in the comfort of your house. And just all you need is to have the internet listening, and you just get the card. Come and pick the card, okay? And you scratch it. You fill in the details of your child, and you put the number of the card. The result of your child will just come up, pop up for you, and that is it.
Where can they get this card?
Come to the Ministry of Education. Okay. See, new things are happening in Bayelsa State, and that is a problem that we have. Today, we have run the system to the point where the private schools are now begging for survival.
Okay.
But let me say this. We as a government are not interested in running education alone. Education, no government can on its own provide education for our citizens. So we encourage private participation in education, but we must set the standard like you rightly said. Today, parents are struggling to move their children to public schools. Yesterday, the reverse was the case. Parents are moving their children from public schools and taking them to private schools. Are we there? No, we are not there yet. Today, the number of people clamoring, struggling to have placement in our model boarding schools, when you compare to yesterday, you will not believe what we have achieved. Parents are coming to me, even trying to lobby me. Of course, you know I cannot be lobbied. So that their children in private schools, you see, they have even come as a team to say, why don't you allow private schools to also participate? For goodness sake, if you have the resources and you can keep your child in a private school, we encourage you to do that. Okay. But the beauty is that the competition now is between the private schools and the public schools. But we have an edge. Sure. You see, so when you say you have private schools in every corner in Bayelsa State, look well. Do they have the right quality of manpower? The teaching staff, are they well motivated? Some of the private schools have people that they are being paid 15,000, 10,000, 20,000 because they just want to say, I am the regulator, so I know it. Because as part of the condition of screening is that we must see your teacher mix. Because today in Bayelsa State, we have gotten to the point where just this year, we're able to have a policy in education in staffing and funding. So we have determined the number of students that can be in one classroom for one teacher.
Okay.
And we have decided how much we will use in funding education, the UN standard. So what you see in Bayelsa, you can't find in other states.
Of course.
Because we have a teacher-student mix of 40, 35, 40 per class. And people are saying, no, why 35, why 40? My brother, we want to work so that the teacher will earn his teaching time. Every teacher has a teaching time. You have to meet up that teaching time. You have to meet up what you're doing as a teacher. And that is what we're doing. Okay. You see? So all this we have done to bring the system into where we are. And that is why most of these private schools are crying foul that we are trying to run them out of business. My message to them, if you must operate a private school in Bayelsa State, you must invest in your infrastructure. You must invest in your human capacity.
Yeah.
You must invest and create that ambience of an environment that you expect that this is a school environment. Not just turning any building you see. I'm a Christian, I'm a Dickson, but I also have my own quarrel with the churches too. See, Christianity, that is where we all belong. But every church must not also have a school. We must tell ourselves this truth. So you see people wanting to have this church. No! Encourage your people and make sure your students, your followership, they send their children to the best of schools within the environment that they stay. Within the environment that they stay. Okay. And that is why we are moving into different frontiers. In the next couple of days and weeks, you will see new things that we are going to unfold in the education system.
Commissioner, you just made mention of the teachers. My question is it evident? It is evident that the government has invested massively in the infrastructure, but what has been done about human resource development? Example, the teachers' welfare, training and retraining.
I was expecting this. And I know when I say something, a lot of persons will want to say, oh, Obuebite has come again. But today, Obuebite goes to school.
Obuebite is here again.
Obuebite goes to school. So that is how we talk about it. You see, this government has invested a lot in the capacity building. I use the word capacity building of our teachers. You see, we call it the Train the Teacher program, where you train the teacher. For some time, we had some issues We set up the structures, but the number that we appreciated that we thought we would have done is not what we achieved. And that is what informed the governor to set up the teacher training, registration and certification board, a board on its own. And the responsibility of that board is to ensure that every year, every teacher that is a teacher in our school system in Bayelsa State will go through training. Every year.
Every year.
Every teacher. And to crown it up, we don't just want to train them. As we train them, we also give them a certificate to show that they've gone through this training. When we started, these people say, oh, we want to sack teachers, we want to write a set example. No. Our intent is to build their capacity. Because the world is evolving. The teaching method, teaching system of yesterday cannot be useful today. Today, we have the internet world. Where even the child that you think you're having in that class, maybe his parents are highly internet compliant. So some of the things that that child knows, you don't even know it as a teacher. Because he has the privilege of going to the net to see what is happening, read through the net, see classes in the net, and everything. Study through the net. So we want to bring our teachers to that same level.
Okay. Nice.
And that is why recently as I came, we just trained 450 teachers with Microsoft here in Bayelsa State. And those teachers became trained trainers and also in turn trained 2,000 students. You won't believe it. With Microsoft, for the very first time, Microsoft is partnering with the Bayelsa State government to do that kind of training. Before Microsoft, we had done other trainings with teachers too. As I speak, we have in the next couple of, by 10th of September, we are going into another training of another 250 teachers. As I speak, we have 2,000 teachers that we have earmarked that this new board wants to train. Nice. And from now to the end of this year, our target is to see that we train nothing less than 5,000 or 6,000 teachers. Yes. Because you have to consider the number of phones that we have. It's not a one-day training. It's something that some of them are expected to spend 1 month, some 5 weeks, some 6 weeks within the period we are training them. Then we are going into the main one. We are also looking at the core subject areas. When you talk about training, it's not just training people because you want to do training. We have the core subject areas. We want to make sure we have the best of science teachers in the state. Okay. Because the world is going technology, you understand? So that is what we are doing. The world has gone high ITC today. So we want to train them in those areas. We want to train them in computer. We want to train them in chemistry. We want to train them in physics. We want to train them in biology. Then, of course, English and mathematics. We are not saying we are not doing other trainings, but we are going to face it. It's when you have a problem. The only thing that takes a patient to the hospital is when you know you have a problem, isn't it? Yeah. And when you get to the hospital, no matter how sick you are, no doctor will attend to you without trying to discover what problem you have. No doctor will ask a nurse to administer any drug or injection into you till they discover. They're able to diagnose what the problem is and they solve the problem. So as a government, we have done that. So we are going to start with those areas that we think we need to do more and give more training. And we are not stopping at that. Okay. We also want to employ more teachers. But the employment that we want to do now, which already you are aware that days have been fixed for the civil service, we also have a special employment just for teachers. That is coming. Because by the time we are through with these 2,000 and we post them, we'll now look at the shortfall that we have. Then we'll now we'll open the doors again, advertise for employment so that we employ teachers. But this time around, the employment that we're going to do will be 1, free and fair. 2, it will be purpose driven. We are not just going to employ everybody because you want to be a teacher. We are going to only employ people that we think we need in the system on need basis. We have done our study, we have known our numbers. So we are doing that because in every school, we want to determine the number of teachers that we have in every school that can meet up the policy. Because the policy document is binding on us. So when you have a policy on staffing, it's your duty to live up to your policy. When you have a policy of funding, it's your duty to live up to your policy. So this government is policy driven. So in education, everything we do is policy driven, and that is what we're doing. And that is why people say we are getting it right. I don't want them to praise us yet.
Okay.
Let them be silent with us. Let us behave like the Chinese. Let us behave like Singapore. Let us close our doors. So that by the time we unveil this project, this product, the world will take this product and buy it and it will sell. And that is what we are doing. So product Bayelsa State is working. And the restoration government is working. That is the focus.
Commissioner, the spread of cultism in secondary schools is on the red. It's alarming. What has the ministry put in place to arrest this worrisome trend?
Well, first, it's sad to admit that we have that very ugly scenario in our system. Even if we don't want to say that it's not only Bayelsa State, it shouldn't be. We must accept that fact. Like I've said, I'm here to tell Bayelsans the truth, and they say in court, nothing but the truth. So that is why I'm here. We had that very ugly situation of cultism, not only in our secondary schools, cultism in our primary schools. The question is, as a government, what are you doing? As a government, what we have done, first, there are things I will not announce because it will affect what we are doing to curtail it. It is public. The criminal will know that you are doing something and will look for other ways to beat what you are doing, so I will not talk about that. But in order to show to the world that we are taking it very serious, you are aware that when I came in, I've had a cause to expel, rusticate some students, and also bar them from being admitted into our public schools in the state. Is it needful? Is it something we should do? Yes, we should do it. Because it's a system where the students who are cultists today derive their pleasure or were introduced into cultism not from the schools but even from the homes. Even from the home.
All right.
So it's an effect of something that they see within their environment that is also now in our schools. So as a government, we have set up some measures. Like I said, I'm not going to mention it here so that we don't jeopardize what we are doing. And in doing that, we have drastically reduced that issue. You are aware we had a 1,000, is that only 1,000, that march that we had? We have about 5,000 march.
Yeah, it was more than
you were all there.
It was more
where
than,
our students came.
Massive.
Massive. We went around the Negua. And we said the story was say no to cultism. If you see it, say it. You understand? That we did. Yeah. And I tell you, we did not stop at that. We've also set up different clubs in the different schools based on the environment.
That's a nice one.
Anti-cultism clubs in the different schools that are functional. In every school today, we have a system that we have said that, like I'm saying, people who are there, who are taking records, who are following up students to make sure we catch them and also deter others from joining them. So we have said, please don't join them. If you join them, you are destroying your future. And that is what the restoration government is doing. So on the cultism issue, we appreciate the fact that we have that very ugly situation in the system, but we are doing something. Well, have we achieved anything? Yes, we have left where we are, and we have achieved a lot, and we are working towards eradicating it. Is it possible? My brother, it's possible. Because you know your children. And that is why I'm using this medium to appeal to parents. As a parent, your duty to bring up your child is a responsibility that the foundation is the parent's foundation. There's no child that goes to school without leaving a home. Every child leaves the home, goes to school, and comes back home, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when your child goes to school and comes back, try to de-school your child. You must know what your child does. As a parent, you must know the friend of your child. You must also know the parent of the friend of your child. You must know the places that your child goes to. You must know that your child is in school when he's supposed to be in school. You must know that your daughter, especially the girl child,
is in school when she's supposed to be in school. You must know that as she's leaving school, it will take her 30 minutes or 1 hour to be home. If that child is not home by 30 minutes or in 1 hour's time, make sure you do something about it. So it's not the responsibility of the government or the teachers.
Yeah.
The foundation is from the home. Then I also want to advise, because I've interacted with so many persons, being a single parent is not a crime. But that should not be the excuse where you must abandon or transfer aggression of what must have happened between you and your spouse to your child. No. That child is a gift from God. And that child is your responsibility. So I'm using this medium to appeal to parents out there. Please treasure your children. Endeavor to spend time with them. I've had cause to discuss with some of the students, and they said they can't even talk to their parents. I've had cause to meet students in our boarding schools during holidays. Go home. They said they don't want to go home. They want to stay here. And we can't keep them because others are going home. Why? There's a problem back home. So the problem is in terms of cultism, sexual molestation, and every other thing you want to talk about. The foundation is from the home. So we as parents must look inwardly and spend quality time with our children and don't leave them to the world. The world is open to pollute them. Yeah. So as a parent, you must make your child part of you. Your child must be part of you. Your child should be able to talk to you, especially mothers. Some mothers can't even allow their daughters to interact with them. They will look for somebody that will interact with them. They will look for that friend that will lead them astray. So I'm appealing to parents, please endeavor, in as much as you are looking for sustainability, you are looking for whatever you are looking for. The most important investment that every parent has is investment in your child. Because when you are unable to do the things that you are doing today, that child will be your source of strength. That is investment. So the foundation matters a lot. When you cure the foundation, then you know how the building itself will stand. And that is my message and appeal to parents out there.
Thank you very much. It's so educating. Commissioner, sir, recently the governor of Bayelsa said, signed a bill into law, the Bayelsa Education Trust Fund and the Bayelsa Higher Education Loan Scheme. Are they operational, Commissioner?
Well, when I talk about the boarding schools, today we have 10 functional model boarding schools in the state. We have one in almost all the local governments that we have in the state, one each in all the local governments. In Kolga alone, we have 2. In Yenegua, we also have 2. The essence why the governor went into that project of introducing the Bayelsa State Educational Development Trust Fund was to create sustainability. Okay. Every policy in government is something you must sustain. Today, the reason why even when we have crisis in FAC allocation, there's no FAC allocation, workers cannot be paid in states, workers are protesting, you will not hear that our students are protesting because they cannot be fed. You see, that trust fund has come to take care of the funding of our public boarding schools. We don't want people to misquote us or get us wrong. The trust fund is not for infrastructural development. The trust fund is purely for the running of our model schools and also contributing to all schools we have in primary and secondary. Okay. The trust fund in all schools we have in primary and secondary. As the commissioner, I know what we are using the trust fund to do for other schools that are not also part of the model boarding schools. But that trust fund is part of, or one of, the policies that has been adopted nationally by the federal government. Okay. The federal government said, just like TED fund, states should emulate Bayelsa State. It's part of the policy document. Okay. That was just done in 2 weeks ago now. The National Council on Education, where all players in the sector, from the minister to the World Bank, every NGO, everybody you must talk about. More than 700 participants were there. And Bayelsa State was singled out and appreciated for that. Okay. And we asked
states were asked to emulate that, and it's not a national model. A national model. Because funding of education is something that you must not depend on the monthly income of a state. It must be something that can be sustained. And that is what the Educational Development Trust Fund has done for us. The Education Development Trust Fund has done for us now as a state. So we have gotten to the point of sustainability, where even after the restoration government, nobody can come and close our boarding schools. Nobody can come and say we don't have resources. In fact, as I speak, the fund has invested some of their money. Yes. They have invested some of their money so that they can also be earning dividends from it.
I see. Good.
To build it.
I see. Good.
Because they don't just want to keep it in the bank. So the fund has invested. Now we are calling on Bayelsans. Bayelsans who are private businessmen who are living in Bayelsa State and doing business, people who are living in Bayelsa doing business, we also want them to key into it. For now, they are not funding it. For now, they are not paying their own required percentage of their income. And that is why I want to use this medium to call on all Bayelsans, friends of Bayelsa State, and those who reside in Bayelsa State. Please consider the benefits of the Education Development Trust Fund. We want to ask you on your own voluntarily, come and register with the fund and also pay your own quota. Your children are the beneficiaries. The funds are not meant for infrastructural development, but these funds are meant to run the system so that the system will not suffer. We have built the state to the point where our educational system will no longer suffer the inflows and outflows of our monthly allocation from the federal government. So we call on you to please key in, no matter how small it is. Before you get to having 1 million, 10 kobo will be added. So every 10 kobo that you have, please endeavor to contribute your 10 kobo into the fund. So that from that 10 kobo we are going to build and get to where we're going. And that is my message for them. You talked about the Higher Education Loan Board. Now, while I was talking about the free education issue and what we are doing to cushion the effect and help our tertiary institutions, this is another innovation that the federal government has also, through this council meeting, asked states to adopt.
Okay.
Let them adopt this process. Education is expensive. So we have created this fund so that every Bayelsa child that is in any tertiary institution within Nigeria, without knowing anybody, all you need to do is to go to the trust fund, to the board, submit all your credentials, and it's going to be done online because we have gone beyond. Stay wherever you are, log into the website, wherever you are, and when you get there, just do what you want to do. You go in there, and if you think it's good, okay, follow it up. Apply. Immediately you apply, something will happen. I'm just trying to see whether I can get the. Immediately you apply, when we talk, we act it. Because, I'm working with the Tognadu government, so we don't just want to talk. So when we talk, we act it too. So when you go there, you will open it. You open it and it's clear. You are seeing it there. Okay? Then you apply. From the website, you submit all your credentials. From the website. When you submit all your credentials from the website, the next thing you do, you now go to that. Okay. I have something I want to show you.
You can display it.
You can see it. Okay. This is it. Okay, we are going to formally launch it. Everything has been done because we are waiting to use it through the next academic session so that all Bayelsans will key into it. We want to launch it so that after the launching, every Bayelsa child that is in our tertiary institution, all you need to do is just to go into this website, register yourself, put everything. We have a mechanism of checking whether you're a student or not. What we do, this fund will pay all your fees in school. and also other fees like your research work and other things as approved and confirmed by the institution. The only thing you do as a student is your daily upkeep. So that our students will not have the burden of thinking of, oh, I have not paid my school fees, so they are driving me because I have not paid my school fees, I have not done this, I have not done that. Those are the things you have tried to correct. So this fund is another innovation, it's another new and another first in Nigeria by the Bayelsa State government. Of course, you know the architect of it, Honorable Seriake Dickson, the former Pepe, the countryman governor. Because most of these things you see, he is the one that introduced them. That is the beauty of it. And that is why he works in committees. He has teams for everything. Bring people together to work together. You see? So this too also has been adopted. No, in this one they advised. The other one was adopted. In this one they advised that states should copy this model and have this kind of fund so that their students will have that ease of getting funds to pay for their fees. But let me say this, we are not giving any child money.
Okay.
We have to correct it. The money will be paid directly to your school. So everything you are doing will pay to you. So that nobody will say, please, you can't be in this lecture classroom because you have not paid your fees. No, you can't see your result because you have not paid. No. And remember, if we have paid your fees, it means we are also going to monitor your progress. Then, how do we operate it? At the end of your studies, you don't have a time frame. After you've been gainfully employed, you don't have a time frame where we are going to structure it. Then you will now begin to be paying back. Because what you are paying is what you are going to use as another loan for another student. So as a government, we are going to fund it. And I know that the governor has already said how much he's going to put, but I can't give that up now as a government. And we are not just doing that. We are getting structures on ground where certain percentage of our monthly XYZ, I don't want to say it, will be tied to it. So at every point in time, there are funds for the loan board to run the system. And I tell you, we'll have more intake of our students in different institutions because most students who cannot go to school because of finance will no longer have the problem of finance. They now have money to run through their system.
Hello, viewers. You can avail yourself to the opportunities provided by the Ministry of Education here in Bayelsa State. So let's take some reactions, questions, and comments from our viewers out there.
Well appreciated.
One, Bayelsa is a place you really want to be right now. Governor Dickson is really turning it into heaven on earth. Nice one from Stella Bassi.
How many universities do you have in Ekiti State? My brother, do you know the number of students that apply for placement into our tertiary institutions? If 10 million students apply, or 5 million students apply, do you know how many they take? They take less than half of those students because they don't have placement. There's no space. So in Bayelsa State, if they are not careful, before the end of this government, we are going to establish another university. I'm telling you, we need it. We need it. My brother, the only tool you can use in developing the people is education. And education is not primary and secondary alone. Those are the foundation of education. For somebody to be truly educated, you must pass through the tertiary system. We want to have employers of labor. We don't just want to have people say, I am educated. I want to know. We want people that will be employers of labor. And that is why our school funding system is changing. So when you say if you were the establishment of University of Africa, they were saying this that we brought a medical university. They should be careful. Because anytime, anything they say, if you are complaining about it, before the end of this government, we are going to establish another university. Do we have the manpower? Yes, we have the manpower. There will be competition. The space will be open. More students will have placement. Yeah. Both Bayelsans and non-Bayelsans. We want to make Bayelsa State the hub of education in the Niger Delta. Okay? So they ain't seen nothing yet. If they are not careful, more will come. Because that is where we are going. Okay? We are talking about just the new one will make it through university in a state like Bayelsa State, where we need people to go to have university education, to be employers of labor. Is that what people are saying? Like I have said, if they are not careful, another one will come before the end of this term.
Commissioner, Governor Seriake Dickson, in one of his quotes, say, if Bayelsa fails, the John Nation also fails. And so will Niger Delta with grave consequences for national stability. This we cannot allow to happen. We will therefore take the necessary decisions and actions, however difficult, however painful, however controversial those decisions and actions may be, even when you have a different perspective, which is your right. Be assured that our actions will always be in your best interest, and you will be consulted regularly. This is a quote from Governor Seriake Dickson. We are sorry, time is not our friend. Our major regret here is that time is fast spent. We hope to invite you in the nearest future to speak to us again, to throw more light in these issues.
I am appealing. I am the one applying now for a job. And the job I'm applying is that give me another platform again to come and talk.
Okay.
Because if there's any sector that this government has achieved massive improvement in Bayelsa State, is the education sector. I want everybody to know that. And the results are up there. The differences are seen.